If you're wondering what the latest realignment news is, it's pretty much nothing. It's just a bunch of rumors, which is typically what we get this time of year. But the newest big thing is possibly UConn and Gonzaga joining the Big 12 for basketball. If I'm the Big 12, I would certainly want to do this. They would be the #1 basketball powerhouse by far, and they would still be a very formidable football conference. There's also the quote-unquote report. We're going to use the term report very loosely, but there was a report from someone that both Arizona and Colorado are in talks to and are joining the Big 12 conference. The original idea was also that it would include Arizona State and Utah as well, but it could possibly be those two joining the Big 12 next in terms of realignment. By the way, what is that UConn logo? It looks like a Creighton logo. When I saw that, I thought it was the Citadel. That's a UConn logo? I don't know, but either way, we'll have to see if this ends up happening. Again, there's really nothing to report. I just wanted to talk about the idea of UConn and Gonzaga maybe jockeying for that one spot. And really, either one would be great. And if you are the Big 12, it does make sense. You know, you're never going to be better than the SEC or the Big 10 for college football. You're just not. You can be formidable, and they are formidable, and I've said in the past, the biggest problem the Big 12 is going to have, losing Texas and Oklahoma, you don't have a premier #1 blue blood, but you do have a very solid conference picking off the American teams. You've got Cincinnati, you've got UCF, BYU's decent. You know, they were an independent. So you are a good college football conference, but really, you're already known right now as the best college basketball conference. Adding one of those two schools would really put you in another stratosphere and make you like the SEC version of college basketball, basically. So we'll have to see if that does end up coming to fruition. There always seems to be rumors that Gonzaga is going to join a conference. It's long overdue at this point. To me, it makes the most sense for Gonzaga if we're just not looking at money. It always made sense that Gonzaga would just go to the Pac-12. Like, that should have happened already. The Pac-12 basketball is not good. Adding Gonzaga, they'd be the #1 team in the conference, but at least they would face more competition than where they're currently at. But either way, that is the update. You know, the next domino, I would say it's looking like Arizona, Colorado, possibly leaving the Pac-12. At that point, the Pac-12, they've already kind of done it. They're pivoting, and they are obsessed with adding San Diego State and possibly another team. We still have that ongoing Pac-12 TV negotiation. That cannot be good that thing's gone on this long. We'll have to see if most of it is streaming. The original thought was it would be done before the Final Four, but it is just lagging on. I do think they'll get a similar deal to the Big 12, but there's going to be a big issue in terms of streaming. And speaking of streaming, bunch of this stuff I wanted to talk about because I really haven't done a video like this in a while. We got the NBC Sports Big 10 primetime games announced, and Michigan's first game is on frickin' Peacock. Oh my God. East Carolina, that game's on. Man, I would, honestly, if I was a Michigan fan, I mean, what do you do? Are they going to, I guess you just have to buy Peacock or somehow stream the game. I think streaming for college football or any sport live is tough, man. It's just hard. It's brutal. It's a massive delay. And I feel like with these streaming platforms, the other problem is, like, when you turn on the TV, you have to go through like 50 different hoops to even hook it up. It's just very, I don't know. I know people, if you move, you really can't buy cable nowadays, but it seems like both cable and streaming, there's no right path. You either got way overpriced cable or you have streaming that lags half the time and you have to do 50 things to even log onto it. Like, there's no right path to watching sports or really any TV nowadays. But yeah, if I was a Michigan fan, I'd be pissed for sure. First game of the season, you can't watch it on TV. That is rough. And then you do have, this is also the first weekend, the night game, West Virginia at Penn State. I'm sure Penn State very happy about that. That should be an amazing atmosphere. I do not think that's their whiteout game. They might do something like a white stripe out or something, but that's going to be a great atmosphere. And if you're Penn State with the new quarterback facing a team like West Virginia, you're going to be favorites. You have way more talent. You know, that should be a relatively easy win, and to flex that off at home, that's beautiful if you're Penn State to start the season. Then the next week they face Delaware. That's a noon game on Peacock, so Penn State gets the Peacock treatment. They have, this is strange, Charlotte at Maryland, primetime 7:30 game, second weekend. What? Just very, I don't know, you couldn't find a better matchup than that. Maybe it's due to like teams only appearing on NBC a certain number of times, like they have to put Penn State on there. I don't know. And then the next week, it's Washington at Michigan State, 5 o'clock start time, exclusively on Peacock. So that's a brutal one as well. That's a good non-conference game. We'll have to see. Washington, very good team, returning a ton. They have a few really good receivers, pass rushers. The quarterback led the league in passing last year. Michigan State really struggling with Mel Tucker. And then the next premier game, Syracuse at Purdue. That's kind of a dud. Ohio State at that's the same night. Ohio State at Notre Dame, that's the big game of the year, and that is on NBC. That was always going to be on NBC, whether or not this deal went through. And then you do have, a few weeks later, USC at Notre Dame. That's a really good one. Michigan State at Ohio State. That's happening like the third last week of the season. So, little primetime game there. If you're a Michigan State fan, probably not too excited for that one. And then the random Black Friday, is that? Yeah, that's got to be Black Friday. 7:30 game at Ford Field. A lot of people were complaining about this game, and I understand why if you're a Michigan State fan. This could have been a great snow game. I love the Black Friday aspect of it, but I think it being at Ford Field, neutral site, not sure why they're doing it. You know, you can play it at 7:30, but just make it outside. We want to see the elements. It's the Big Ten football, so I don't understand that. And then we do have the other big news, college football, the video game in 2024. So I'll explain what I think is going on here. You can see possibly planning a boycott. The payout for the athletes expected to be $500 per athlete. Quote, they should not opt into it. It is just a ridiculously low amount of money. So basically what this is, in my estimation, it's a few players at the top who are being told by their agents, you're getting taken advantage of, you're only getting $500. The NFL Players Association has fought, and the players for the NFL make thousands for being in Madden. And this is a completely different situation. There's so many more players for College Division I football, and these kids are just going to have to realize, in the long run, who cares about the $500? You want to be in a video game. It's only going to make you more popular. Imagine, if you're a USC fan or just a fan in general, having a USC dynasty using Caleb Williams, that's only going to make some of these players more popular. And then when it comes to 99% of the players, they're probably all in on getting a free $500 check along with being in a video game. They can play as themselves. Their family members can play as them. This is really just a few of the guys at the top trying to act like, oh, we're all going to boycott this because we're making nothing. No, this is not an apples-to-apples situation with Madden. Madden is paying out guys, in terms of, there's a lot less NFL players than there are college football players, so it would be a big commitment even to pay them $500. And of course, I'm not going to criticize these kids. It's very hard to take a lot of these kids seriously because they're so young. And it's just like when you're 17 or 18, you look back and realize how just stupid you were. So I don't want to hate on the kids. I think it's mainly the agents telling the kids to do this, like the big time ones. Like, oh, you're getting, you need to negotiate to get a higher pay for certain players. And this is the whole NIL crap. It is what it is. It is kind of annoying, though. And then I also saw this. The Big 12 is launching a Big 12 Mexico, its first international extension. The conference will host Kansas and Houston. Man, they got Houston as well. That basketball conference is crazy. That game's in Mexico City in 2024, so they'll be dealing with that crazy altitude. And then they're also going to have exhibitions versus local teams for the soccer and baseball. But the big story here is they are exploring possibly a football bowl game. I'm not sure what that means because bowl games are not conference versus conference, so it's not like it would be Big 12 versus Big 12. Maybe a neutral site game is what they mean in 2026, possibly in Mexico. That could be coming. So just a little fun fact about the Big 12. But overall, guys, when it comes to the realignment, we could get the next domino, Arizona, Colorado, and then maybe, as well, Gonzaga or UConn for basketball. I personally think something like that would have to happen to trigger other things like Oregon. Honestly, all of this is going to get cleared up, I feel like, when the numbers come out and the Pac-12 deal gets finalized. Once we know what the Pac-12 deal is, where the games are going to be, who has the rights, that is going to open up an entire can of worms if it's not good, and that's when you'll start hearing the Washingtons of the world look to the Big Ten, the Oregons of the world look to the Big Ten, the Utahs look to the Big 12, Arizona State, and Colorado possibly to the Big 12 as well. Right now, we're just kind of getting murmurings. I still think the next domino is that Pac-12 deal. If it's bad, that's when it could get really ugly for that conference. But right now, it does look like they're trying to hold everything together with the idea that they'll at least be able to have a comparable deal in terms of money to the Big 12. And I do think that is achievable because the Big 12 just does not have a major superpower that's going to push them over the edge in terms of getting to like SEC level money, Big 10 level money. The SEC, you're talking about, blue bloods on top of blue bloods. The Big 10, the same thing. I mean, with USC now and UCLA joining Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, it's just ridiculous. The Big 12 has a very solid conference, but they don't have that blue blood to push themselves over the edge. That's why the Texas and Oklahoma move was so crippling. You lost both of your big blue bloods, and you really can't replace them with anything. You went to the American, you made it work, you're trying to pivot. I understand that. They're doing a good job, but the TV money is not going to be there because they don't have that one huge blue blood. But I still think it could still potentially be better than what the Pac-12 is getting because it looks like the Pac-12 is left with nothing if they cannot get ESPN in on this deal. It'll mainly be streaming, which is really going to turn off Washington and Oregon and really all of the teams like Colorado, Arizona. It'll turn them all off, but especially the bigger premier teams that are trying to recruit right now. It is not an option to have your big games on streaming only. It's just not. When you're going up against Big 10, who they've got the big noon on Fox, the NBC games, you need your games on TV. You need them playing at bars. That's the biggest issue right now for the Pac-12 if they do get a bad deal that's mainly based off of streaming. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.